So after having a tinker with the robots to see what they can do, and making sure the children understand here are the limitations and the opportunities with the robots, we then spent time planning first in terms of what our goals are with the robots. What is it we want them to do? And I thought that's where Picohs were really useful, because maybe unlike some other robots on the market or on-screen programming you can do, with the Picoh, you could have a clear chart of the way the voice recognition, the way the request would go in terms of questions. So what a lot of children end up doing was asking a question, and then from there, that would split off into multiple questions. For example, it could be, okay, yeah, tell me about history. Okay, what do you want to know about history? And then from there, there's a clear, if we talk about this, if you ask about World War I, there'll be this response. If something else happens, there'll be this response, and then that could split off again multiple times. It was great to see a more complex algorithm happen sort of organically, but using an unplugged activity to do that was very important, because then you could, before actually trying to fit it into the blocks that were required to make that happen using Scratch, it was a more universal understanding where you could just break it down and however way they saw fit. And it was interesting to see the children planning it in very different ways in terms of, here's what I want them to answer, and then going backwards and breaking down how I'm going to get there. And it's all that breaking down, that decomposition that we look for. And that's what was really good about that. I think really important to do some unplugged activities before going in and actually trying to build the project up from the beginning. So I found a huge difference between if I was teaching this just on screen, which fair enough, you could do that. I mean, as Alexa and Siri are not physical, they're physical objects, but they're not, they're not humanoid, they're not a robot in the sense of the children would understand. But I think that's really important at primary level, that they bring this idea of this is an object, anthropomorphized almost, isn't it? Where it's got a face, it's got something that's physically there, which you're interacting with, rather than it being just something on screen. That difference there makes it feel like the knowledge is a lot more applied. They're taking these skills and they're putting it into an object, and that's something they can do with their code. The code is not something that exists on the computer. The code is something that can be applied to, an endless variety of objects, and seeing it there, that this object here with a face and it moves around, is something that they can move around using programming. And I think that's really important, and and I can see the excitement they get out of that, of why this is an important thing to keep working on and improving their skills in the future.